Being a child sucked. You're never allowed to do anything fun without permission, you can't buy anything because you don't have any money, and overall you're just really incompetent at doing just about everything. So why is it that every time I see something that reminds me of these times, it feels like more of a positive emotion rather than something negative? Well, this is actually because of a phenomenon commonly known as nostalgia, which is something you're probably familiar with. And what's more nostalgic right now than cartoons that were popular from the late 90s to early 2000s? Which is why today we're talking about SpongeBob. I'm yet to make a video that is about something aimed towards children and talk about it in a positive way, rather than just making fun of it for being trash, which is what I usually talk about. But who knows, maybe one day I'll make a video about all the later seasons of the show and why they aren't as good. I'd love to make a video talking about the first few seasons of the show and what makes them so great, but something like that would take me months to make and I already haven't uploaded in like 2 months. Also, I just kind of felt like making a Christmas video this year, so I thought why not kill two birds with one stone. SpongeBob for me was always one of those things that I really loved as a child but never really expressed that love in any way. Maybe I was just afraid that all the cool kids would make fun of me or something, because I never owned anything SpongeBob themed, like clothing, toys, nothing. In fact, the only thing SpongeBob related that I owned as a child were the first 3 seasons of the show, the movie, and one extra DVD, which I can't actually find for the life of me right now. But this extra DVD was none other than the Spongebob Christmas DVD, and after taking a look at the list of episodes it featured, my list of top 5 favourite Spongebob episodes makes a lot more sense now. I'm not too sure why I had this DVD though, as every episode featured on this disc is from season 2 and 3, which I owned, so I guess I didn't miss much when I lost it. But this one DVD meant everything to me back in the day, which is why today we're looking specifically at the Christmas specials from the SpongeBob TV show. Originally when I started working on this video, I just kind of assumed that there would be like a list of Christmas episodes that I'd never watched before, because I mean, who's watched every season of SpongeBob? But as it turns out, there were only 2 Christmas specials, which, less work for me I guess. So let's begin by talking about Christmas Who. So this episode is one of the few that starts off with a scene from Patchy the Pirate, who's played by Tom Kenny himself, which is something that I didn't actually know until I started working on this video. I don't really want to go into any detail about this scene because it ultimately has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. So let's just skip ahead a little bit to when we get to the actual opening, which actually starts off like any other episode of the show would. It starts off like any episode would and then just works in the more Christmassy elements gradually as it goes along, until everything is suddenly thrown off when SpongeBob believes that Christmas lights are a fire, which, when you really think about it, doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, just because SpongeBob doesn't know what Christmas is, he doesn't know what lights are. But that's like such a little nitpick that only an idiot would think that that's legitimate criticism for the episode. Anyway, Sandy tells SpongeBob everything there is to know about Christmas, and then the next day he runs off and tells everyone what he learned from Sandy about the holiday. Then everyone writes a letter to Santa, except for Squidward, who refuses to believe in such nonsense, with the episode then casually transitioning into one of the greatest songs ever made, ever. Okay, so not really, that's just kind of an example of that nostalgia thing we were talking about earlier. Personally, I fucking love this song, as I would play it on repeat all the time as a child. But I get why some people maybe might not think that it's the best. They're wrong, but they can have their own opinion, I guess. Also, the song works as a smooth transition, leading into the next scene, which is set on the night of Christmas Eve, where Squidward is seen trying to go to sleep until this happens.
Those idiots are gonna be up all night while I get a full night's sleep.
Oh, Santa's coming tonight, tonight. Santa's coming tonight. Santa's coming tonight, tonight. Santa's coming tonight.
Come on, everybody! Let's sing till Santa gets here!
And then this large crowd of people continue to sing throughout the entire night until someone has a sudden realization.
Hey! Where's Santa?
He should be here any minute.
And everybody just kind of abandons SpongeBob and his dumb ideas. Then he's sad, but still gives Squidward a present that he made for him because he refused to write a letter to Santa, and he felt bad for him because he thought Squidward would be the only person without a present. But then Squidward feels, quite literally, like a jackass. So he dresses up as Santa and gives away all of his belongings to the people of Bikini Bottom, all to make SpongeBob feel a little less like an idiot. And then the real Santa comes and tells Squidward that he did a good job or something. And that's basically everything that happens in this episode. I left out a few like details and plot points, but you get the basic idea. You could really tell that they wanted this episode to stick out as one of the better ones of the show overall. The writing in this episode is noticeably better than usual. When I was rewatching the episode for this video, I found that a lot of them are still funny to this day. Watching this now really helps invoke that Christmas spirit everyone seems to be looking for this time of year. There's also like a subtle message in there about like being selfless and not making the holidays all about you, but I pretty much skipped like most of that, so just don't worry about it. I don't really want to go too in depth, as this is mainly just an overview of the two episodes and looking at how they compare to each other and seeing how the show has evolved over time. I do still really like this first Christmas episode though, because not only was it fun for me as a child to rewatch it over and over again every Christmas, but it's still fun revisiting it now even though I'm much older. I remember almost exactly 1 year ago now on Christmas Eve, I wasn't really feeling that Christmas mood or whatever, so I just put on the song from the episode and tidied my room for the night. I spent hours listening to that song, and I'll probably listen to it before going to bed on Christmas Eve this year too. Because even though it's really dumb, and I can understand why to some people it may seem like this episode is nothing special when compared to some of the more iconic episodes of the show, I can still appreciate this episode for what it is, and for the genuine happiness it brought me as a child around this time of year. Now let's talk about the next Christmas episode. This one's not as good. Remember how the first episode we looked at started off as normal and gradually got more and more Christmas themed over time? Well, let's see how this next episode begins.
Oh, it's drawing very near. My favorite time of year.
It just immediately jumps into things, I guess. Because who needs an introduction when you can just jump straight into it? Similar to how the opening scene of Taxi Driver featured a massive shootout. Because why wait for something to happen when you can just have it happen straight away? So anyway, the episode begins with SpongeBob waking up in the morning and then decorating his house with Christmas lights. From what I can tell, this episode takes place on Christmas Eve, so I'm not too sure why someone who claims to love Christmas so much is setting up their decorations so late into the month. SpongeBob is definitely the type of person that puts up their decorations in November. But then he goes over to talk to Patrick about something, and holy fuck, what is that? Like, thanks for the nightmares, I don't want that thing sneaking in my house at night when I'm asleep. Then we go over to the chum bucket, where Plankton is upset because he never gets any presents at Christmas. So he comes up with a plan and tricks SpongeBob into giving everyone in town a bunch of fruitcake that is filled with jerktonium, which just kind of looks like kryptonite if I'm being honest. This material basically, if consumed, turns anyone into a massive jerk, except for SpongeBob apparently, because he's just too pure-hearted. That's actually in the script, that's not my own words. So then Plankton convinces SpongeBob to go around giving everyone these fruitcakes because he thinks he's doing a good thing, and everyone in town becomes a jerk. But apparently getting SpongeBob to poison the whole town wasn't enough, because he also creates a robot that looks like him to go around town causing mayhem and making people hate him even more. Then the same kind of stuff just keeps happening for most of the episode until eventually it's Christmas Eve now, and SpongeBob notices that everyone is still acting really mean even though it's Christmas Eve now and everyone's supposed to be in their Christmas spirit. They're not supposed to be mean anymore. So SpongeBob goes over to Sandy to see what's up, and then they just happen to discover a cure for this thing. Hey, remember how in the first Christmas episode a song was used in order to smoothly transition to much later in the day? Well, in this episode, it's used as a cheap plot device that quickly and easily reverts everything back to an equilibrium. Then Santa shows up and says that everyone is on the naughty list except for Plankton, so his plans actually worked for once. What a nice, unique spin on a classic formula that we've known for years. It does make sense with this being a special episode that they wanted this one to stand out by switching up the formula a bit. Except pretty much everything goes wrong for him in like less than a minute, so fuck me I guess. Then Santa leaves again and everything is okay, except no one got anything for Christmas. Isn't that why they were sad in the first place? Like, the episode just kind of forgot that the point of this scene was that the only person who got presents was the person who deserved it the least. But then he got his present taken away from him also, so just no one got anything, I guess. Wow, what a great Christmas story. Really gets you in the right mood for the holidays. Who needs a thought out message about being selfless and giving for a change because it's the right thing to do when you can just be a dick and ruin it for everyone? Rewatching this episode was kind of surprising for me because I knew it wouldn't be as good as the first one, but I kind of remembered it as being better than what it actually was. Like, I think everyone knows at this point that the show just over time gets worse and worse, but I was expecting a little bit of quality for a special episode. Even comparing the more in-your-face and less subtle jokes of each episode, you can tell that the first one just had way more care and thought put into it when compared to the newer one.
Here you go, Patrick.
Whoa! A wristwatch!
SpongeBob, give me back my door.
Yeah, so that's about it for this video really. Didn't want to go too in depth. This video did not at all go the way I was expecting it to when I first started writing it, as originally I thought there would be way more episodes that I needed to cover for starters. And I remember the second Christmas special from season 8 being better than it was. It was actually quite a disappointment revisiting it. I remember the original concept for this video was going to be me taking a look at the list of Christmas episodes and talking about why they are, like, of a higher quality compared to the rest of the show. But that was before I learned that there were only 2 Christmas specials, and only one of them is worth watching at all. Overall, I feel like these 2 specials are a perfect representation of how the quality of the show has gradually gone down over the years. There's a reason people say to stop watching after season 4, and after comparing these 2 specials, the old and the new, I completely see why.